Good afternoon, everybody. The Impact Fund created the Class Action Hall of Fame in 2016 to honor the courage and sacrifice of named plaintiffs whose commitment and determination has led to significant advances in economic, environmental, racial, and social justice. And to tell us more, I'd like to introduce Alyssa Gershon, who sits on the Impact Fund board and who chairs our Grant Advisory Committee.
As everyone here knows, lead plaintiffs take on a responsibility that often involves putting others' interests ahead of their own, enduring great personal and sometimes monetary sacrifice for the good of the class. And they maintain a dedication to advancing justice that may get strained sometimes as litigation drags on. Their commitment is especially notable in today's climate, where courage and compassion have been most evident in ordinary people who have risen to meet the circumstances they're confronted with, while so many of our powerful institutions have bent to public pressure and political pressure. The Class Action Hall of Fame came from the recognition that these champions of justice deserve to be celebrated. The Impact Fund and our partners wanted to elevate their role, as well as to communicate the value of civil rights class actions in furthering widespread positive change. We also wanted to challenge the false narrative that class actions are only about the lawyers, or only about money, or only perhaps about trivial issues. It's an honor to be here today with today's inductees and to acknowledge their enormous impact on the lives of so many. I want to note that the Impact Fund is very happy to receive nominations to the Class Action Hall of Fame anytime, but nominations must be made by October 31st in order to be considered for the following year. Thank you to everyone who has made a nomination this year.
Sadari Howard served as the class representative for female correctional officers in the case Sadari Howard et al. V. Cook County Sheriff's Department. Cook County Jail in Chicago is the nation's largest single-site correctional facility with over 10,000 people incarcerated and 3,000 correctional officers. The female correctional officers at that facility had to endure far more than we would normally think of as a hostile working environment. One that was allowed to continue because of the negligence of management. Sadari never wavered and continued to press the claims of 560 women. When you get a chance, please, and you'll see it in the Hoover app, Sadari's blog about the case. When I received that blog and read it for the first time, I was in tears. I was in tears of lamentation. I was in tears of joy, and I was in tears of gratitude for what Sadari had done. On the eve of the trial, the county settled for $31 million and made policy changes that will provide benefits and improved circumstances for hundreds of women officers at the jail. Sadari sacrificed precious time with her family to serve for 7 years as the organizer, relentlessly advocating and supporting hundreds of other women who were severely traumatized by their experience at the jail. So, please join me in welcoming to the stage Sadari Howard.
Hello, everyone. I lost my notes. Give me 1 second. It's a great honor to be here. I am nervous. You all do not know, like, the sacrifices that I made for years. I just wanted justice. I wanted to be able to go to work and not have to deal with the sex harassment, you know? I didn't want any woman to feel that type of, stress, hurt, thinking that it was a part of their job, because it's not. It's not. We have to, continue to keep our dignity and our respect, and that's what I fought for. It did become a little discouraging because out of the 2 years, I gathered up 1,800 correctional officers. That's when I found out that I wasn't the only one dealing with the sex harassment every day. So it started out with 1,800. I organized that, rented buses, took the ladies to the law offices just so someone can hear us, someone could believe us and know that we were not lying. And so that was like the highlight of the case, and then the lows was when the class was decertified. So it went from 1,800 women down to 500, and that was devastating. It was devastating because I really felt like, a lot of women were afraid of the retaliation, mostly retaliation, and a lot of the ladies were giving up. They had given up because a lot of them felt like the case wasn't going anywhere. But I stood there and continued to fight for everyone, and thanks to Marnie and her co-counsel, we were able to win this fight. And just as long as to me, this is justice. This was justice. So whoever comes along after me will know that, no, you do not have to accept it, and you have to fight for what's right. And I end on that. Thank you.
Next, we honor Cheryl Farrell, Steve England, James Gonzalez, Hayden Powell, Jules Sohn, and Lily Stephanides, named plaintiffs in the case Farrell versus United States. Lily passed away shortly after the case was settled and is being inducted into the Hall of Fame posthumously. LGBTQ+ veterans discharged under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy and earlier bans on LGBTQ+ military service were deprived of their constitutional rights due to the Department of Defense issuing them discharge records that referenced their sexual orientation, and in some cases, giving them a discharge status of less than honorable. The case achieved significant relief for more than 30,000 LGBTQ+ veterans nationwide. Through the negotiated settlement approved in 2025, veterans will be able to obtain corrected paperwork from the Department of Defense that no longer references their sexual orientation, and they will be able to access an expedited process for upgrades to their discharge status. The case challenged systemic bias in the military and push the government toward greater accountability and equitable treatment of LGBTQ+ veterans. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Cheryl Farrell, Hayden Powell, and Lily's surviving spouse, Devin Raphael Stephanides.
I didn't think I'd be so emotional, but there's an anniversary that's coming up. And part of the reason I started this was because my identical twin sister passed away 5 years ago, March 9th. She was a mother and a grandmother, and she should still be here. My mother passed away shortly after I was discharged, so I came home to deal with that. And I needed a purpose because I was dealing with survivor's guilt a little bit. So my sister, in her infinite wisdom, found a way to bring this case to my attention through a post in a magazine called Lesbian Connection that I had gone to an event that somebody told me about. And there was an ad. Sis goes, "You need a purpose? Here's one for you." Because she knew how much this being discharged the way I was discharged upset me, because she knew how important it was for me to serve my country. This is a different way I've got to serve, and I'm very proud of it, and I want to thank all of y'all for helping me achieve that goal. I had been working at DPS for 5 years. And for 5 years, I have been putting veteran status on individuals that had an honorable discharge, but I could not put it on my own driver's license. I had a customer I told that to, and he wrote me a piece of paper that said, "Update your discharge." I found that the other day. So I didn't do it just for myself, but there is a lot of satisfaction in what I have achieved with y'all's help. And with that, I'll just say thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's funny, you have no emotions until you get up here. You can't really put into words what this experience has been like in 4 minutes, but I'm gonna try. I wanna thank my fellow plaintiffs who are not all here, first and foremost. Lily, we did it. You know, I know you know that, but you don't get to be here to see what's gonna come from all of our hard work. I hope wherever you are, you can see it, because it's gonna be amazing, and I know it. For me, it's been 27 years of being ashamed, imposter syndrome, feeling like I'm not a veteran. Veterans Day is a trigger. Like the rest of us, not even being able to get the notation on your driver's license that said you served your country. You know, it's a hard pill to swallow. It's difficult to have your government tell you that you're wrong, that who you are is not okay, that the person you are is less than, while you're standing there wearing the uniform of a United States soldier, a radio operator in the United States Air Force. You know, you feel top of the world, and when that's taken from you, when you're investigated like you're a criminal, your military ID is cut in half in front of you, and you're escorted off of the base. You're then, for the rest of your life, have a DD-214 that you're never gonna be able to use for anything. It's meant to be a badge of honor and has now become a scarlet letter. I've never been able to use it to obtain employment. Simple things as a veteran's discount. You know, you hide away on Veterans Day because of the shame. There's lifelong consequences to the don't ask, don't tell policy that 27 years later, I am still suffering. I was 21 years old when I was kicked out. I'm 47 now, and I'm still trying to get it together. And in my 30s, I tried to find lawyers who would help me with this, who would sue the Department of Defense to right this wrong, because Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed in 2011, and nothing changed. Nobody did anything about it. And 12 years ago, there were no lawyers who were willing to touch it. They were too scared. It wasn't socially acceptable yet. It's socially acceptable now to be LGBTQ+, but it wasn't back then. Everybody was too scared to stand up to the Department of Defense. And so with that, I want to thank the lawyers. There's too many of them to thank by name. I want to thank all of you. You all are my heroes, regardless of the strength of the plaintiffs willing to stand up. We can't file our own lawsuits. So we needed the lawyers. They are my heroes. The funny thing is they say that about us plaintiffs, we're theirs. But it's a mutual thing. We needed them, they needed us. So I want to thank the lawyers and all the law firms. You guys, I love you. Thank you so much. We wouldn't have been able to do this without you. Again, I want to thank my fellow plaintiffs. This has been one of the hardest things in my life. It really did. It ruined my life, was the way I looked at it for a long time. And this lawsuit, winning this is some vindication. Decades later, it's some vindication. And 30-some thousand veterans are finally going to be able to have some pride and pick their heads up. So thank you. Thank you so much.
I came prepared. Okay. Hi, my name is Devin Raphael. I am Lily's husband. It's weird to be here without them. We did everything together. We called ourselves the Ruse because we're always out for an adventure. And it was our idealistic way of looking at ourselves as a couple. We were together for almost 12 years. We were married for under 2 years. When Lily came into my life, I recognized Lily as being a person struggling with PTSD and not a drug addict. And everybody around me and everybody around Lily said that Lily was a drug addict. And when I started exploring with Lily their PTSD, they were protective, of course. And we both come from military families. And in my family, we were told we don't talk. Loose lips sinks ships. And so Lily was protective of that, and I respected that. So I got to know Lily as need to know scenario. And so we were facing holidays and stuff like that, and there was always trouble. And I never understood why until I brought Lily to an outreach program to get Lily VA benefits, because I felt like Lily needed VA benefits to help them with their struggles. And that's when I found out the truth. And I sat there in front of Lily's attorney, listening to Lily talk about their experiences in the Navy. And in the back of my mind, I'm watching the calendar, a yearly calendar go click, click, click. That's why, click, click, click. Oh, that's why, click, click, click. That's why. My birthday is September 29th. Lily went into the Navy September 28th. They were discharged a couple of days before Christmas Eve. When they went into boot camp with the Navy, they joined the Navy with their best friend, Kevin Good. in boot camp, they met Alan Shingler, and the three of them became buddies. And they all graduated from boot camp. They all got their assigned ships. Lily was discharged shortly a year after being assigned to that ship. On that ship, Lily was addressed about being gay. And the ironic thing about that was throughout boot camp, Lily had a humorous level of accepting what they needed to do to help them understand this. And so they had a very campy, ongoing humor about doing boot camp throughout the whole boot camp thing. The Navy waited until they went out to sea with Lily to say, hey, you're gay and we don't like that. But what they also did was they did not allow Lily to have any legal representation. For 9 months, Lily was out to sea being sexually harassed by straight men, just to see if they can get Lily to break so they can have more evidence that they're gay. They were discharged. The only place they had to go was home, to their parents. Lily comes from generations of Navy career-orientated people. And so this was devastating. They were not allowed to answer the phone for 2 years while living in their parents' house because the parents did not want to tell people that their son was kicked out of the Navy. So they would tell people, oh, Stefan was away and we can't say where he is because it's a naval right. From there, Lily lived on the streets for 25 years, surviving. With all of their PTSD, they ended up getting HIV, deep into drug addiction and alcoholism. Then they met me. They were infatuated with me because of my grounding understanding of how life is and how life works. I was an activist in the 90s, and so when Don't Ask, Don't Tell came up, I had to have friends explain it to me because I thought it was a good thing. I was like, at least we can still serve. And they're like, no, 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 no. You're serving a lie. You cannot be yourself. You have to hide in the closet while protecting others, while sitting there listening to others talk about their sexuality openly. You cannot talk about yours. I never thought this would come full circle for me, and that I would actually fall in love with somebody who was part of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I saw them stand up for themselves the moment they got sobriety. They never looked back, and they kept on walking. They had so much shit handed to them. They had no reason to lift a finger for anybody. They got their benefits. They could have shut the door behind them and just watched TV and ate and said, hey, I'm dealing with life my way. Instead, they took down the hinges off that door and they opened the world to them. And they said, hey, I need to be heard. I need to be listened to. This is what happened to me. Thank God for Swords to Plowshare, who helped Lily get into the VA. They were the first to listen. They were the first officers to say to Lily, thank you for serving. The first time since they were kicked out of the Navy. So Lily, okay, so why did Lily do this? Because Lily's Lily. They were like, hey, I'm gonna change history and I'm gonna be a part of it. And then they realized that they were saving hundreds of people's lives by going forward with this. When they were asked to join the Impact Fund, they actually took time out and just did all this research to make sure that they were gonna be speaking the right way, looking up words like patriotism. And what does that mean? What does patriotism mean to the LGBTQ community? They were really like invested in making sure that what came out of their mouth was the right thing. And ironically, through all of Lily's nervous breakdowns and spinning out of control and not being able to understand what they were saying because they were speaking in such an abstract way, Lily still spoke the same words that they spoke when they were in a breakdown in front of the cameras, speaking for this case about patriotism, the LGBTQ community being strong, responsibility, loyalty. I never thought I would be actually there understanding these abstract concepts from their breakdowns to be actually articulated to the public. When the last year of Lily's life, we won the case, and we were really happy about that. Lily was scared because of the political climate, naturally, and then in May, they got a Lifetime Achievement Award for their outreach to the LGBT community as well as the veterans community, and combining them into conversation about Don't Ask, Don't Tell. 18 weeks later, they died. They never had a chance to enjoy any of this, to understand what this meant and where this is all going. They had ideas that they wanted to keep on doing outreach to the LGBTQ community, sorry. And they didn't get to do this. I'm here trying to live this on for Lily. I dress this way because this is how Lily would dress. I also learned from Lily, put the eye makeup above the eyelid and nothing below, especially if you're gonna cry, because it's not gonna work for you in the aftermath. The day that Lily died, we found out that Lily got their upgrade. Lily got a general upgrade as opposed to an honorable upgrade. This went from a non-honorable discharge to a general discharge. It's hard for me to say that hours later they passed. I don't want to say that that this case killed them. I do not want to say that. They were full-hearted into this. They were so appreciative to be part of a team in a battle for hundreds of thousands of people. Turning over this case, getting these people their rights, got them dignity for the first time. Lily did not want to leave anybody behind. And that's how they looked at fighting in this case. They were happy to force the hand that wrote their history to correct the truth about their history. They ended up saving, 44,000 people's lives. And that's fucking, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say it, that's fucking incredible, you know? I mean, this went all the way back to World War II, that they saved people. And it's incredible. Lily, I brought all these notebooks because I was gonna read things from Lily's words, but you know, this is Lily. This whole day is Lily. You guys are Lily. And this law firm, the Impact Fund, thank you. Thank you so much. There's so many lawyers there. I have to thank Fawn because Fawn was so dedicated to working with Lily, and throughout Lily's sickness and stuff, Fawn was always there. And I can't thank them enough. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Let's hear it for the class of 2026.